call the meeting to order. Scituate Council on Aging, monthly board meeting. It is 5:34, 33. As always, we will do a quick round of introduction. I'll go to my left. I'm David Miller, the chair.
Pat Compton, board member.
Dee Dwyer, board member.
Joan Powers, liaison for South Elby Services.
Leslie James, board member.
Susan Polk, board member.
Linda Hayes Kelly, Director of the Senior Center.
We thank you all and welcome. We might have one or two late folks coming in, but we should probably just get started. We did not have a July meeting, so I would encourage everyone to take a quick look at the June minutes, and we will vote on their approval. Seems like it's going back a long time
Doesn't it?
ago. But take a look at the June minutes from June 8th.
Oh, no,
Okay.
She sent me
Does anyone have any edits, additions, omissions to submit for the June 8th board meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
All quiet on the western front, motion to approve, thank you, do I have a second?
Second.
Very good, thank you.
Who's taking minutes today?
Susan is.
Oh.
And now that we've gotten June out of the way, we're gonna hear about July, June and July,
that.
I guess.
At the Senior Center. Hi. All right, well, it has been a fast month, as I think I spent my first, well, you already heard this, but this morning thinking that tomorrow was actually next Friday and changing every.
This is what we're looking at?
Oh,
This is today's report?
it is really and truly August 10th.
That's what I figured, but I just wanted to say it.
It was saved as such, which is good. Sorry about that, yes, a little quick. Anyway, yes, it is August, but yet it's not over yet, so it's only August 10th. So, okay, I will say the busyness here is typical and has been consistent. Not to say there's really been much of a fall off, which I think we'll see with Jess's report, but I will say that myself working with both Jen Adams, as you know, and even Kelly in the outreach area, because they have been willing and able, and we thought maybe Jen would sit in one day a week and it becomes 8 to 10 hours. It's been a godsend, honestly, and also they're terrific. So, sometimes things are related enough to the transportation, or Kelly may have had interactions with a particular client that might also need some other services, and so it makes sense that she's been able to handle some. So it's been good, not to say, again, it's also been on my plate, so it has added quite a bit to the daily routine and calls and number of calls that we are fielding, which we'll see a little bit of in a bit.
Yeah, I don't want to hop in, but can you tell if it's been steady, more or less? I don't wanna hop into,
I can't tell that, I will show you what it's been and it will look like a lot, so steady at
just
least.
curious if, summer months we see more?
We are seeing an incredible
Yeah,
amount.
yeah.
We are getting an incredible amount of calls.
Yep.
Erica on that side has a workload that
Yeah.
is only increasing
Yeah.
and unmanageable almost, if not
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So working with both her and she gets some help from, her name's Stephanie, who is
Right.
the regional outreach person for Cohasset, Scituate, and
Hingham.
Hingham.
Yep.
So she's been also a godsend, and she has an intern that they use a great deal, and even sometimes I've shifted a couple of things to her when the calls have come in and it's just been something she could handle.
Yep,
So,
busy.
it's been busy on that side, again with the shortage, and I'll talk about that again in a minute. The accreditation documentation and application was, and I should have, and I meant to send you all an email just like it did, but I took a 2-week extension that they offered as of, when it was June 30th, and probably maybe, I might have worked into the night and finished it. But they offered a month extension, and I decided to take the 2 weeks. But even at that, the daily workload just didn't allow, so finally by the end, I worked the weekend and got it in on Sunday the 15th. But I also knew that they have limited peer reviewers, so she said you'd be in a queue. It's whoever gets in there in the order that they get in. So some people may have completed things early or on time or taken the extension. So we're in the queue, that's all I know.
That's all.
But once they reopened it to me, I had to submit and I had to tell them what was missing. The 6 or 7 documents that I had decided, either weren't quite complete or I needed to refine, or honestly, just the logistics of getting them into a PDF, which they needed one PDF for multiple things that they were asking for. It was very,
That's a big file.
it was difficult. So it wasn't even content always, it was just trying to get it into the right form. So I had to tell them what was missing and then resubmit. They opened it up and then resubmit. I had to tell them when I was ready, and then they opened it up, and then I finished everything, and then they closed it up again. So I'll go into a little bit more of that on the update, follow-up. A lot with the art committee, and I think everybody's been pleased with the current exhibit. That was interesting and a lot to put up, so we took down the botanicals at the end of June, put up Dixon's 3D, and it's received a lot of attention, very positive, enthusiastic attention. Then he did the men's breakfast, and honestly, I was again pleasantly surprised because he did a fantastic job. Really, he did. It was not too long, it was 40 minutes, it was good content. He had a PowerPoint that was very supportive, really nice, because all he did was explain both his own sort of progression into how he decided on the art, and then how he does some of the art, and it was really point on. So he's coming back, if anybody cares, on August 14th, which is this coming Monday, from 4 to 6, and at 4:30 we'll do the talk again, because he does live at White Cliffs.
Yeah.
And although a few came, I guess everybody wanted to come, but they couldn't. So now he's doing it. So we'll put out some refreshments like we have done for the other artists, honestly, and he'll do the talk at 4:30.
That's great.
So if anyone's interested, I told him I'd post it.
Great.
This is the guitar on.
This is the guitar.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
he's interesting. He's a retired guy, but yet he did a lot of different things that I think, frankly, all contributed a little bit to his vision for what he produces now for art. It's great. There's hope for all of us. Pickleball has been busy, and we've been doing clinics, and people have been, interested in that, so we've only really had the gym on Friday, so it's actually been a bit of a chore just to say that I have been doing it without a lot of volunteer help that I have in the past had. So it just so happened. So the summer we're just trying to get through, and hopefully then things get settled, and I probably, or I may need another volunteer to help me out on a regular full-time basis for pickleball.
Can I ask,
Mm-hmm.
I should know this, but is everything outside or is anything inside?
No, we are inside, and our program is only inside. So
Okay.
the fact that there are 5 tennis courts all lined for pickleball is great. You can go there anytime you want and do your own thing.
Okay.
There are people, especially from the pandemic months or year, that was a grassroots thing, and there were emails steadily sent, not by me, but by a volunteer. And they did outdoor pickleball all the time, and they've tried to continue that in some fashion,
Mhm.
but I try not to
Mhm.
get too involved.
Mm-hmm.
So normally we have 2 times a week, 2 different gyms.
And we're
right
direct, yes.
now we only have 1 time a week. Rec does their own.
Okay, Jenkins.
We use Jenkins
Okay,
during the week, during the school year. We use the recreation gym on Fridays.
okay.
And that doesn't go away, at least not yet.
So are there clinics? Is that what
So we did eventually, it used to be easier, a couple of volunteers, Ed Koturski, Al Loon, they were very good about orientating people and working with them for half an hour or more. But that just wasn't so consistent, and new people wanted to start. And I did have a contact, so she's been coming in, so that's for pay. So she either does a couple of weeks of an intro clinic, or a follow-up like a skills and drills, which anyone could take. But the level of play has increased. They really need some orientation. Some people, Sue Rivera, who many know from, she's the exercise instructor here. She's athletic, she played tennis. She decided she would just come, and you know what? She was fine. We did a half hour, a few people do jump in, people are very nice, especially the moderate players, to help and play for a little while with beginners. She was great, so, but anyway.
she's
So she didn't need, I'm not saying she didn't need a clinic, she might have, but she didn't need a clinic. So that happens too. But people don't seem to mind paying. Sylvie is her name. So that's what we've been doing. Also, we started, or just made arrangements for a 65 and over basketball program,
Oh,
which they're just for the month of August. That's the only gym we could get for the summer. Was only for 5 weeks in August, so they're doing that now on Tuesday mornings, which they're happy with. We first got the high school small gym, knowing there was no air conditioning, but they took it anyway because that's all I could get. And then visited over there, and the middle school has a gym, and apparently it's air conditioned, and so this, can we use that? So I have to go online and make the request,
conservation.
which was accepted for 4 of the weeks. 1 of the weeks was in the other gym, so. Anyway, that's nice, and softball's been ongoing, and they meet here, and sometimes there's issues that I get involved in, but for the most part they are self-running. Some of the lingering building needs, the golf cart has been a saga, because truly, we don't have an ideal place to store the golf cart, the electric golf cart. So it was waiting for me. Rotary was offering to buy it. Kevin's been very helpful in trying to find a suitable location, because really,
It's gotta be stored.
it does have to have some storage. We have an electric outlet outside, it could go under the eaves in the nice weather, but if there is inclement weather, it does need some. So we were going to buy a Shelter Logic, very secure shelter shed type thing, not a shed, not winterized shed, and a cover. But it may not be adequate, we'll see. Could it be fine for some of the warmer months? Maybe. We could use it all winter if the weather cooperates, but at the same time, we could put it in a garage, the garage over at Town Hall. Anyway, it's still a little bit like it's not tied up yet. So we don't have it yet. I don't know if in the end they're gonna make us wait. It would be ideal. Kevin, for facilities purposes, would love a real shed built somewhere here, convenient, out by the parking lot, and in which case we could maybe store it there. We'd have to have electricity so that it charges overnight. So again, it feels like much ado about the golf cart. It was a great idea. I'd like to think we'll still get it, but I don't know what the timing's going to be on that right now.
Devil in the details.
Yeah,
Who knew? I mean, I thought it was
Yeah.
just a golf cart.
that's all we need is a golf cart.
Yeah, so, the blinds, technically they're pending, but I'm waiting for a visit to make sure that they can get the hardware, the double hardware that we're hoping for, so that we have both sets of shades, not just the new room darkening shades in the Egypt room, but we might as well keep these shades too, so we're trying to do both, and I need him to come and assure me that they can do that. So that's pending, and the directory and the dedication plaque are next on my list to order. Some kitchen items, we're already at the point where we actually need to replace glasses and silverware that have just gone away or broken or whatever. So those are some of the things. I've been doing the 4-week memory
There's
training.
Signage, are we okay on signage still? I don't know, right? Yeah, okay.
The signage is
Just thought I'd
approved.
ask.
The signage is approved. And it should be ordered, but I
Right.
cannot say that it is. But it's approved and we'll get it soon.
Okay.
We have brought back the memory training, so Jen and I have been doing it together, just a 4-week thing, but I think it's something we'll keep up. It's been nice to have a partner. I used to do it by myself. It's much nicer with two. Some events of note, the volunteer celebration, of course, the July 4th barbecue, which was a bigger lunch, really a bigger lunch, and no matter how hard we try, people just eat inside, so
Yeah.
it's fine. There's just no outside. Now, September 1st, you know, is coming, and that is an outdoor event. That is not planned for indoors at all. So it's a 4 to 6 outdoor concert with hot dogs and watermelon on the patio. That will be outdoors. It's with Billy and the Goats. Some people don't seem to know, but it is Fred's band. We had them last year. This is the second time. And we had easily 200 people last year. Could be more, maybe, hopefully. The Sister City had an event here, their Bastille Day in the evening. It was very nice and went well. The Veterans Coffees, we've started monthly since July and August. And it's a very informal thing. You know, Dawn did talk to them briefly at the July meeting. You know, I touch base with them, but otherwise it's a little bit of a social time. We're just providing some refreshments and
Which is good too.
snacks
Yeah.
for them, so. Here and there, I think we could offer, and I've said we could have not a speaker, well, we could have a speaker, or just have someone come and join them, that might be helpful to them if they have that need. And then the Drive to Sing film, which we did have about 35, 40 people come to that event. It was very nice. It was a very nice documentary made by a Massachusetts couple who themselves run, and Leslie was there yet, who run a chorus or choir. And it was nice because it wasn't just choirs, of course, it was the barbershop quartets. You know, they really ended up interviewing a lot of different people who sing, who wanted to be involved in this way that they derived of virtual singing, or not even virtual, just in the parking lot, in their cars,
With
bringing
microphones.
the other sounds from the other drivers in through their radios and making all of their wireless microphones work and providing those wireless microphones. I mean, it was really quite a feat. So it was great. And our new chorus leader, Bill Richter, came with some friends as well. And so it kind of got him all a little psyched up. Not that he doesn't do other courses, which he does. He does a few, not just the school. But this Tuesday, August 15th, is the first practice for people interested in joining the Seniors Sing Chorus. So we're very excited about that. And then I mentioned the men's breakfast already. We did get, nicely enough, $1,000 from our regional Shine office to support the Shine efforts here, which is just a nice thing for us to get in terms of donations. Our social day program, which we mentioned last time, I know, does have a second day planned. It is September 11th. As yet, though, we've had some inquiries and could have a new person starting. All of the people on Monday do want to come on Wednesday, and we don't necessarily have a whole set of new people to take the Wednesday slot, so probably that will just happen unless things change by the end of the month, which is great. They'd like the second day, and that's fine. And then she'll still have to manage openings as they occur, which is fine. That's what we thought we'd have. Grants, well, I think I may have mentioned the earmarked funds from the state. So we just received, actually, I haven't put together the card tables, but all the chairs that I ordered and then the additional card tables just arrived yesterday or today. So that's good, and some of that money is, not some of money from the state is being used to pay for that furniture. the shades as well, and all of the other items that I had to give them ahead of time. This is really great news. The state formula grant for FY '24 was just signed a couple of days ago, $14 per elder. So,
Which I think is up, right?
right, so last
Nice.
time, or this past fiscal year,
Good.
we got the new census numbers, which was an increase from our previous population, at $12 an elder.
Right.
So it had gone from 52,000 to 66,000. So now, the new number at $14 per elder,
Goes up too.
our elder number is 5,543 over 60, I think.
Okay.
Is now going from 66,000 roughly to 77,000. So
Great.
now that's what we have in our spending bucket.
Great.
Which, as you know, we were pretty tight when it was 52, based on the salaries that we pay out of that. We didn't have an awful lot left. Now, this year was a little more comfortable that we could support, and are supporting really much of our exercise programs. Simply because, you know, the expectation for what instructors make, or could make, or should make, doesn't jive always with what we want to charge, which is to say not too much. $5 is a nice fee. We've gone to 6 on the tap. You know, we do 10 for the floor yoga, but not always. 5 is still happening. So anyway, that's it. We have to support some of that, and we want to. So now we have more money to be able to do that.
So,
That's great.
have I missed something? Does the town?
The town supports the $309,000 budget right now that is most of our salaries, operating the building, to some extent, because, well, they do operate the building, but I do for some extent out of my budget, but also Kevin Kelly out of the facilities budget took on, when this building was built, the electricity and the heat, more or less. So the utilities, we pay for other operational expenses. We have our supplies budget, both cleaning and office. We pay for cable, we pay, you know, so there are things that are still in that.
But you don't pay for activities.
But we do not have a budget for programs
Not
and
the town,
activities.
Oh, for the activities.
Never
and
have.
That's where this
Never
comes
have.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they don't
All right,
stop.
I didn't understand that.
You know, they open the doors, they pay for the, most of
Right.
the staff. Now, Jess's position is completely on the formula grant. And 10 hours of Jill is on the formula grant to make her full-time, because otherwise she was 25 hours. So, as those salaries have gone up, which they should have, you know, they haven't been transferred. So, my budget will be a little complicated this year.
So if you wanted a marketing or media coordinator that we
Mhm.
talked about during the accreditation, that would have to come out of this state formula?
We would, and we'd be happy to do it that way, because presumably it would be a part-time, you know, it would be nice to put that on the formula grant. That's how it's nice to introduce some things, and then once they become, you know, kind of critical,
Then we put them on the
then
town
we
budget.
hopefully put them on the municipal budget. It's just that, you know,
Right.
things have been,
Right,
it's just been
okay.
difficult. So we'll ask again, or there are scenarios maybe I can paint that we could do it this way, or we could do it that way. We'll see. So I mentioned the art exhibits anyway. We do have an open call for artists, still open. So we are calling all artists who would like to exhibit either a single piece of art for the September and October exhibition. Or we did decide to also have a lighthouse theme in addition. So
Good.
if they have a single piece of artwork and then also a lighthouse piece of artwork, we might be able to take both, depending on the numbers.
That's great.
So, but hoping people would grab the flyer for information and then submit the agreement with details about the artwork, so that we can get a feel for the landscape, no pun intended. And then the drop-off for all art would be September 5th. So at that point, we will accept the art, we'll tell people that they're accepted and get it up.
That's coming quickly.
It is coming quickly, so yes, I hope so. The deadline really is supposed to be next Friday for getting the agreements in. They are here at the senior center. They are finally, yes, posted on the website, on the town website, the council on aging page, or the senior center page. Other planning in the works. We are, and Jess is now organizing our what used to be our annual health fair, we just haven't done it since 2019, so now we're planning it for October. And in response to some suggestions, of course, we've been wanting to do an open house on a Saturday, so we're going to combine the idea of an open house with the health fair. And Jess and Susan, I think actually Susan Pope right here, we're brainstorming a little bit and maybe thinking about trying to coin it a little bit of a family affair. So we like that, it's cute. So an open house and health fair combined on Saturday, October 14th. So that is, I really like the idea, and I think it's gonna be an effective way to just bring some people in to check it out.
I think it's on the weekend, so.
On the weekend, right.
Yeah.
And also, we certainly get a lot of calls and interest from still children of older adults, interested in what is available for their parents, whether it's benefit services or just activities. And then also just families in general who might wanna know what goes on, or what we have. Building use has still been not terribly busy. The First Parish Unitarian Church did do a nice Sunday picnic for their retiring minister in June. Foss was supposed to do their outdoor car event show, but that ended up being canceled due to the weather. French Sister City, I mentioned, Rotary Club, of course, they did the pancake breakfast and they meet here periodically, and the Irish Sister City and Trail Committee also meets here periodically. We did get a little press through Sue Scheibel with the Patriot Ledger, who writes the Good Age column. She did a piece on Dixon, but nicely enough, when I spoke to her, it also came up about dedicating the space for the art exhibits to Joanne Papandrea. And so I had mentioned that, and then she asked for a picture, and then, so she included it in her column, and then it was also picked up by the Coastal Mariner. And it was on the front page. And then they continued with a big picture of her, which actually I'd love to mention here, was taken by Julie White, who's a very good photographer, still lives in Scituate. We don't see her too much, but she had also done some photographs for us when we did the float for the St. Patrick's Day Parade and had the blow-ups of the different activities here at the center. She had done those as well. So funny, she saw the article in the paper with her picture in it, which was nice. It was Joanne painting in front of the old quarterdeck. It's a really nice picture. It's sort of Joanne's back, but you can really tell it's her. Anyway, that's all I had. But that was great press, both for Dixon, he was very pleased, and also for us. So the outreach position, just to sort of bring that up a little bit more, it's still open. We've almost not even been doing anything about it because we've been managing with the help that we've had. But the DEI committee, the Committee for Diversity, thank you, Equity and Inclusion, yes, the DEI committee for the town, has actually been talking about this and concerned really about the workload for Erica as the social worker for the town. And in addition to proposing that, really the police station or the safety complex needs their own social worker and not necessarily to pull Erica, which she does. She does there on site, and she does here on site, and she does other places. She does all ages. But anyway, so they wanted to recommend, and are recommending, and did to the select board already, a social worker at the police station, but also that our position, which is an outreach coordinator or worker, hasn't needed to be a social worker per se because we have had the other person in Erica right now, but they are recommending that our person also be a clinical social worker, which frankly I've asked for, but the salary, we really haven't had that, those applications come to us because their salary range would be a little greater. So the fact that that's been brought to the select board from really an unexpected source, but Bob Clark is on the committee. So he and I have spoken, it's something that we wanted to do. The only sticky point is that if it really is an increase in salary and a slightly upgraded job description, does it need to wait for my budget to be fully approved? And not to say that it has to wait fully for July 1, but new positions normally do. Is it a new position or is it not a new position? Is it just an upgrade? Can we do it now because we have salary left over from not paying for the position since March?
Right.
So there's a few questions, but I'm all for that. That would be great. Or the other idea is that we still fill the position as a sort of a case management person and then still somehow get the clinical social worker part-time. So that would be something else we could look at. That would be a new position then. So, anyway, in the meantime, I have some help and that's been useful, but we would like to get the position filled. We could get more creative with current staff, that's also another option, which we'll have to see about that. So, the new contract for GATRA also came through, so that's $142,000, which has gone up. Which is good, because although we charge, as you know, a nominal fee for our medical out of town, for instance, which might cost us anywhere from $60 to $150
A trip.
a ride.
Yeah.
And we're charging $10, or for Boston, you know, we ask for 20, but we don't necessarily always get that. And the other monies for the, sort of the just in local, it is $3.50 about that they're charged. Some people don't pay us for it necessarily, so we have grant money from Social Elder Services that we use. Now, right now, that's used up, and so we still have another month sort of to
Cover.
cover for that. But, so, I don't know how it always works out. Kelly puts in her reports, we get our reimbursements for what has been expended, but, so there is money there, but we are supposed to replenish. We pay GATRA also for some of what they do for us. So, but looking at Kelly's report, which I guess I put them on in the wrong order, she's got a very comprehensive report for us. But it does show that the July actual rides ended up being 265 rides, compared with June's actual rides, which were almost 100, well, yes, almost 100 more. It's just been a slower July. Oddly enough, we were waiting for Tom to come on board, so we have a new driver in Tom Kilduff, so that brings us to 5 drivers. But then Juan went out on a 3-week vacation, and Joe had a vacation in June, so we were a little tight in June, but yet still did a number of rides. Some were still farmed out to Social Community Action Council. But we still did a lot. So I think it's just summer,
I think it's summer too.
just summer. Not a concern, but I will
Maybe
say.
families in to visit and take
Yeah.
and help you ride.
She's also let me know that she does, especially if she can't do the ride and it's a simple in-town ride, she will not only tell them about the GATRA Go service and say, you know, you can do this, or if they don't feel comfortable doing it, she calls GATRA and sets up the ride for them. Once they've done it once or twice, they get more comfortable with it, so.
That's, you call, instead of just circling, you call for that.
Yes.
Is there a fee in that?
Sort of on demand.
There is a fee for that, that's $2 a ride.
Is that through here, or?
It's really not, but except that, you know, we know about it, it's still Guthrie Park's here. I mean, it's fine if we are a source for them to sort of market the service, because we understand it. It is an app for a phone, if someone wants to do it that way. It is also a dispatch for a phone call. And once they know you, it's much easier to make a ride. Once, the first time they ask for information, but the second time,
You're
they start
already
to get to know.
Right.
Anyway, but she gives some information as far as what she has been doing, which again is a lot. We finally got the radio fixed. Mark Donovan, before he stepped into the chief role, finished our radio. Everybody's, you know, up to date on their trainings, and I think it's a working machine at this point, so we're happy about that. And not to say that she has a lot of free time, but it just has become evident that she is that efficient and organized so that she can help with some of the client needs that maybe go beyond just transportation, and that's been super helpful. And then back to Jess's report on the activities. Again, we might see a slight downturn in the numbers coming in, but not great. We've had instructors on vacation, although videotaping, thank you SCTV for coming to videotape Sue's classes. They're coming in again to do Zumba for when they go on vacation, and people come. It's, you know, it's free. They're welcome to the rooms. even when Sue was on vacation, they came in and just stretched on their own in the fitness room without any instruction or video for that matter. So that's been great. But, I mean, lunch is not really decreased, it's still really right about the same numbers, yeah.
Those numbers are just about the same.
I mean,
You're talking about
we
one
fill,
person, one
we fill
person,
up.
a different, one person over the course of a month difference.
Right.
That's,
I mean, honestly, we're still at just about the max that we
Yeah.
look for at 48, sometimes it could be 45. It's still a lot. And the lunches have been tremendous. They've really been delicious. They've really been good. I do test them. Fred did take a week in July, so we had to cover that, and you know what? We had to, we actually had to cancel lunch a couple of times in July, which also account for some of those numbers. Cam got sick, and that's our backup. Well, Cam's, when Fred goes on vacation, and he does go again next week or in 2 weeks, I think. So he sets Cam up, but then Cam can't do it. We don't really have
yeah, somebody else.
a backup
behind
to the
him.
backup. So we did cancel it. One day I think we were able to package some lunches for people to take, but, and we still continue to do that on Fridays. But actually, no, we're very happy with the number of programs and still some of the interesting newer things. The artificial intelligence, 67 people came to that. That was great. He could do more. That one we paid for, and we didn't ask for any money, so that came out of the formula where, for instance, it's just something we chose to do. I think if we continue to use him, we probably have to ask for a small amount. But for instance, we pay for Our For Your Mind, and again, that's been free, but that's because we've had donation money that we've used. The FBI agents came in and did talks, a talk, sorry, that was great. And the librarians have come monthly to do some talks as well, which has been good. Yeah, I think I probably mentioned most else. Our bridge lessons were suspended, unfortunately, so I think he might have done 2 or 3 of an 8-week session we had planned on, but he ended up getting sick, so we're just waiting to hear that he's back and able to continue. So they've been coming just to practice, because a couple of people sort of know what they're doing, I guess. So that was too bad. Okay, I did also want to mention Alden Finney, senior, I guess, had taken some pictures when the building was first completed with his drone, and those have been on various things. They've been on the video board downstairs. But then he came back recently and he did some new pictures with his drone, which are really very nice. So they're updated views of the senior center. I think I may put those, a few in the newsletter, just so people can see them. I'm thinking of framing a couple for the walls, just because they're really nicely done, and I just appreciate that he did that for fun. And he'd come back and do some updates, so when we get our signage outside, I will have him back. Also, I wanted to mention, so one of our seniors was starting to use the van for some cancer treatments he had to go to, and it became apparent that he really couldn't easily get from the house to the van. And Kelly realized this and mentioned it to her husband, because apparently he was a neighbor. And someone that tries to do things for veterans, they told him, and they went and built a staircase in his, outside his door in his
Awesome.
garage, I wanted to mention. And, you know, there's some text that this man, Chris Pratt, actually, Kelly's husband wrote the text describing what they did, and again, I would like to get this in the newsletter, or in some way advertise that they did this for him. So I'll pass them both around just so you can see them. Well, they have to be able to get from their house to the van.
van.
Our van driver
Can't
can't
help it.
go there.
So what do the steps have to do with it?
Got him out of the
Yeah,
house.
that's what I was, got them out of the house.
Get them out of the house safely, down into the driveway where the van could.
So
No, the van driver can get out of the van and he would
But
assist,
not go to the
but
house.
he can't go to the house. That's just, it's a funky rule, but, and if he had if they had passengers on the van, you know, I mean, they just don't leave the existing passengers and go to the house. They have to stay within the proximity of the van. something else I wanted to mention, I added a page with just a list of a summary of activities that Jen, in filling in for outreach, did I, is there a list there?
It was outreach services,
Outreach,
Jen's summary,
yes.
to the bottom of that.
Oh, I'm telling you, I did, I think just did I somehow.
What are you looking for?
Well, it should have been another single page that honestly I had printed, but you know what happened? The
Yeah.
printer then ran out of toner, and it must not have printed. All right, so let me just, that's a shame, because I wanted to give you a sense of the amount of things, not the short
Is
one.
that the bottom of your?
It is at the bottom, but there was another list that
Oh, okay.
Jen had submitted to me for hers. But just the number of activities that she's been involved in, calls or meeting with clients, both in May, June, July, and into August. Housing continues, assistance with finding home care services. Questions on insurance coverage for getting home services. SNAP, any sort of food assistance, paperwork, people even needing help with job applications, they've come in, fuel assistance. I have been doing the water benefit that people get in addition to fuel assistance, so that's a newer thing that we've only done twice. But it was easier this year for me, but I still have to go back into the portal again, so people can continually be added, but then I need information from the water department that then I have to enter into that portal, and then the state sees the information, and the state is paying up to a certain amount for people who have need and for their water and sewer bills.
Okay, wow, okay.
If they're on fuel assistance, they automatically are eligible, but others
Okay.
can get it if
Good.
if they ask. So that's been something. Life alert, different things that people are trying to get even for their parents, a lot of people have called for that. Some legal assistance, different supplements. And then coming down to the handyman needs and the calls we were getting for things like that. So we'd had a man call some time ago wanting to volunteer, but wanting to help us develop a handyman program so that it was a little bit more formalized, which was a good idea. And so another senior center had done it, so we used that as a model. And again, I couldn't print this for you, but we now have a handyman program that, somebody could get the sheet if they need it. And they're available to discuss potential small jobs. They're not licensed contractors. Right now we have one person, but we're going to contact the other one or two we have names of. That sometimes when people call, we'll just give those names because we know of them. But they'll assess the need. Clients will be limited to no more than 3 requests per quarter of these volunteer. Now, if they do it for pay, that's something else, and we keep that separate. Clients would provide all expenses or material expenses to complete the job. The job has to be agreed upon prior to doing the job. Clients should contact the handy person through the outreach department, so we connect them. Anyway, so they can now complete and sign something when they call us for.
And these are volunteers?
They will be. Well, right now we have one, and so he's gone out on a couple of things. We also matched up someone who needed someone to take their trash literally down to where it could be picked up, because any of the trash services don't go to the garage.
Okay.
They just go to
You
the
gotta get
bottom
into
of
the
the
driveway.
driveway, and if you're 90, something. So anyway, someone's doing someone's trash for us. Those are the calls. Those are the calls we're getting. So I did want to make you aware of that, so that is a new program, and again, it's just in its, but Jen really
Community
managed to
assist.
pull that together for us, because I was waiting and waiting, and I said, well, we can't wait anymore, because we're getting calls,
Yeah,
so let's just do it,
yeah,
which
good.
she did. So there's that,
That's good.
and the rest can wait for the accreditation.
Okay.
Just so I can
Well,
start talking for a minute.
It'll be a quick segue out of that. Does anybody have any questions for Linda on
Sorry.
June and July reports?
That was a long time, sorry.
It's okay. It's 2 months. I don't have any update from, select board, and I don't have any update from FOSS.
Foster's only update is, I already mentioned the car show was canceled.
Yep.
They are planning a tea luncheon on Friday, September 15th here at the senior center. And I am pleased with the back patio has been extended, partly in memoriam to Betty Johnson, a volunteer that we had. We went extra long for you. So we have the tree, phosphate for the tree in Betty's memory. We have a stake in front of the tree in Betty's memory. Now the pavers from the patio are now extended alongside the bocce court, and a bench in Betty's memory, which had already been purchased, now has a sign on it and is there. So it's a nice little area. It went very well. And we are hoping Steve from Northern Oak, who did the work and did a great job, but there were extra pavers, so we're hoping that he can continue to place them alongside the bocce court, because it's really a wasted landscaping area and just kind of messy. And people use it because they have to get from one end of the bocce court to the other, so they're just trampling
Yeah.
through that.
Right.
So we are hoping, and I think Steve will come back and finish that job for us. So that is Foss's.
Okay. Social other services, Joan.
We had a meeting, on August 1st. We didn't have any meeting in July. And they gave out this, giving everybody a digital thing, so you go missing, get any information, I got all the information on this, which they used to have in a brochure.
So they didn't do the booklets at all then for this this
Huh?
year?
Wow.
So instead of the booklets, this is electronic.
Wow, that's been around for,
Yeah.
a long time.
And they always give a detailed financial report. And then, like I talked before about the increase in salary for the different workers, so we had to vote on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so this I gave up, this, they wanted us to share, it's a company-wide turnover data for reference. The wage structure that has turned over and produced now highest per month. So if you notice, the turnover was less this year than it was last year. And they figured one thing is because they've got an increase in salary.
Because the salaries have gone up,
Yeah.
right?
Well, that's what this was. And then, every 3 years it comes up about the pay rate for Meals on Wheels. And they have a committee that usually interviews 3 or 4 companies, and then they decide it. And then the board just votes on the one they decided, which is the same one we're using now. And they gave them, there's different things that they asked them to do that they hadn't been doing, like, they might change the menu and not tell us ahead of time. So there was, so that, but we'll have them again for 3 years, and they've been pretty good.
Who is that? Who is the vendor
It's,
that you're working on? Yeah.
it's called the Trio Food Safety, and it's located in Braintree.
Oh, okay.
And then we always have the different senior centers give a report, so I told them things were going on. And also we're gonna have a pancake breakfast and a July cookout and everything. And I gave them out the newsletter. And all of them were really impressed by the newsletter that they had, that we
That's
had.
nice. Very good.
And then the August community dinner is gonna be one of their favorites, fried chicken
Oh, yeah.
with potato salad and then key lime pie.
Date? What date?
The 27th, Sunday the 27th at 5 o'clock.
Sunday, 27th at St. Luke's at 5 o'clock. Okay.
We had 38 people last month, we figured this could be more.
Great. Who does the fried
38 is
chicken?
actually low.
Who's in the kitchen doing the fried chicken?
I mean,
Who is in the kitchen that night preparing the meal? Who does?
Who's cooking?
Who's cooking?
we used to get Kentucky Fried Chicken, but they've gone up in price. Last year, we did the fried chicken from Shores,
Oh, okay.
and everybody liked it, so we're doing it again. So people give donations,
I see, okay.
so we're using that donation
All right.
and some of the money from the yard sale to buy the chicken.
Good.
The
Very
rest, we make our the pies and the cake
Go
salad.
to, yep, go to the experts.
Very good. Follow up on accreditation. You didn't want to show off the big
Well,
5-inch?
no, here,
Behind
Oh, you got it.
right here, actually. I mean, you know, for the most part, this is the binder, it's not, it needs to be prettied up a little bit, before our visit. And there's a few things I still wanted to add, just to sort of introduce each of the standards, but each of the 9 standards is organized in there, and each of the required documents for those standards are in there in some fashion. So, for instance, but I did include in your packet, what I thought, just in terms of the purpose and planning, which was the first standard, and one that you were involved in terms of suggesting for the mission statement for changes. So, I mean, the background and the strategic plan summary I had written, and then on the other side of that page is our mission statement that, you know, we finally honed it down. It was not easy. I think part of the problem was that the old one was good, but then we wanted to try and include a couple of newer terms, language that was maybe expected, but in the end, I don't know if we did, but we tried to keep it simple, but also so to promote the physical, intellectual, and emotional wellness of our community of older adults by cultivating connections, fostering independence, and enhancing quality of life. So the fostering independence and enhancing quality of life were really part of the old one, but we wanted to get that word connections in there and cultivate.
I think it's great.
So that is it. Now our vision, it turned out, you know, the more we talked about it, it's like, well, we have the tagline on our logo, so that really is what we are. I mean, once we had come up with that. So I liked that part, and I've always used this little subtext for providing older adults with those things that all end in the same ION. I don't know, it was on some of the postcards that we had done early on. So I kept it, and I thought that sounded pretty good. And to deliver quality services and programs that reflect our commitment to the diverse needs, culture, and lifestyle of our population, encourage connections and build community for older adults. So that was just another way to sort of talk about our mission. And then our values. So that's complete. Now I didn't include all of the goals and objectives, which I could do that next time. I couldn't print them all anyway. They're in the binder. They are. So in the binder for standard 1 is the planning document, which is the strategic plan, which includes what I've just shown you, as well as the goals and objectives, and action items. The report is an example of one of our annual reports, as well as, and this took me some time, the annual report that I submit to the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, which is a statistical report. I think this is the one. And anyway, that took me a while because last year I did it through my senior center and let them submit the statistics, so I didn't have it with me, so anyway, I had to create a whole new one. But
now it's done.
I did until next January. The community partners, in addition to each of your workbook pages that were sort of our outline for what was going to be asked in the narrative that I had to type in. So some of it was complete, some of it I had to do, some of it I added to as I went through each of the questions. So there was a lot of text, and I didn't have time really to copy out all the text. I had wanted to, and I have some of it, but not all of it. But community connections, which Susan had spearheaded there. You know, we have some cooperative agreements, we have a list of community partners, which we've always had, but now it's in print. The marketing plan is very helpful. Marketing materials, which were important because we've done a lot of marketing. That was not, you know, once you do it, it's just collecting dust somewhere. I have it in drawers or files or whatever, so now it's in the binder, much of it, or at least examples of it. I loved those postcards we did. So the standard 3, which was PAP, but bylaws, much of what affects really the board here. The code of ethics, which, the code of ethics, I think that I got from the state, I think. And then the conflict of interest is something that's part of the personnel manual, which the town has just completed. All of your names are in there, standing boards and committees, and certificates and inspections. We have to figure out which ones of those had to be posted. We have the ones in the kitchen, the ones that we're required to have, like CPR, so they're around, and they're in the binder. For standard 4, administration and human resources, my resume. So if anybody sees that I updated my resume now, it's because it had to be in there. All job descriptions. So that actually was a good exercise because Bob Clark was the HR person, had come from me. I'm like, we have them all and they all look the same. There's a logo, you know what I mean? Now, all of my job descriptions are updated, including, I don't think they had one for me because 10 years ago, and it was the former administrator. I just don't know where it is, so I made a quick one. Personnel policies, which Bob was working on anyway and completed, so I think I uploaded the whole thing. And then unpaid staff volunteer job descriptions, in other words, so Jess did all of those. An organization chart, which basically, you know, but I had to do that. And a volunteer handbook, which Jess had completed, so that's useful to have as well. So there is one, if there's volunteers who haven't seen that, that's something we can bring up at another meeting. So anyway, you're starting to see there was a lot in all of these things. Now, the program development, which Susan worked on with Jess, you know, they had to do a very big spreadsheet, and then somehow that had to be not in spreadsheet form. It didn't take Excel, so that had to be somehow condensed into a PDF, which was done. But that was listing, well, actually, maybe you want to talk about that document.
It was big.
It was big,
Yeah.
and 130 things we had. Can you believe that? 130.
Programs.
And then-
separate programs?
Yes, and then there was 12 criteria, one section.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It took time, thoughtful, to do it correct, you know?
So that we had to have programs that fit into each of the categories, and that we covered all the categories that we would like to see that we covered.
And also they wanted, if there was things missing, that was a little section too that we have to work on, like intergenerational, gay, you know, that sort of thing. And we have good ideas. And even that health fair coming up that we're working on, we're keeping that in mind, that we're gonna fulfill what we
So,
said.
yeah.
That's great.
It was a little sad because really for the 7 years before this building, we've been doing a lot of things that now weren't necessarily eligible for the report, because we might not be doing them right now, but we have done so many different things, all trying to be that kind of center that was comprehensive in its offerings. Anyway, we pretty much squeezed as much as we could into that report. The evaluation, so the evaluation plan, that was another spreadsheet that involved a lot of different, having evaluations for a lot of different types of programs for services. So we got that in, but then the examples, those were hard.
Yes.
So, and I couldn't find the evidence-based examples, and it took me a while. I mean, the memory training that we were just doing, I had that, but the aging mastery program was previous, and in fact, I didn't end up having the physical evaluation, so I had to do some digging and finally got it, but that took a little while. 2 examples of methods, so again, statistically, so we did an evaluation of all the activities here, but putting that data into a spreadsheet, the spreadsheet's big.
Big.
You can print it out, but you can't, and then they wanted the, sort of what came out of that. So we had some recommendations that might have come out of that, and you had to stick them on the same document, which, so there was that, examples of outcome-based, which was the ones I was talking about. Fiscal and asset, that was a big one, which Leslie knew that, of course. So my budget, a financial statement from the town, the audit from the town, that was easy, at least Nancy gave me that. Internal controls, insurance coverage, the incident report form, which probably could be a little bit better. I think we might have upgraded it a bit, but that's something that we have to think about. And the disaster recovery plan, that's one we did not have. So disaster recovery or business continuity. And really, we kind of did that during COVID in some ways, and then there's also all of the, well, there's the generator. So we have the generator as part of that. So I kind of had to pull that together. Records and reports, that was, you know, again, well, oh, Lori's not here. Oh, goodness, Lori's not here. Laurie, I mean, we knew Marie.
I
but we-
knew that Marie would.
Anyway, so that was a lot to compile.
Yep.
That was really the monthly reports here, so that's part of it, a sample anyway. 2 year-end statistical reports, which I use the annual report for. The participant form for new members, confidentiality policy, which we did not have. So that we did create. And then a policy and procedures manual, which was probably the hardest part. It's not that we have many policies now. Every time I turn around, it seems like we need a new policy for something. So that should be something that when someone starts as a new employee, for instance, they review and receive, but not receive, but they can look over the binder. But also, it should be out in a public location so that people can look at that really and see. We can't expect that someone's not going to sit in the back library room all day if they don't read if they don't see the policy that says, you know, please remain for only a reasonable amount of time. So, I'm just saying, we need to get that out into the public view.
And also, I mean, I think Jess had started doing, excuse me for interrupting, but Jess had started doing like a welcome packet.
Okay.
And so that would be a
Yeah.
great thing. You might not be able to include everything, but I think it would be really great that when someone comes for the first time to register,
Yeah.
that you give them a welcome packet, and in that could be,
It could, and it should be like, I actually
They get
did.
one now,
no, I know they do,
Yeah.
but I'm
but
saying.
add that package, yeah.
That's what I was trying to say, is that I know that they, you know, Jess had started.
Oh, that's
Over the
big
library.
though, but for instance, the guidelines
Yeah.
that we did, you saw last time,
Right.
that's in there now.
Okay.
So it does say sort of some of
Oh,
those
good.
policies
Oh,
in a
great.
succinct
Yeah.
form. So, yes, so that was a big one. And last, facility and operations, I mean, senior center pictures, which I had taken because I didn't have Alden's new updates, but now I put those in when I took it back. Transportation options and brochure, which is actually a great brochure, so, I mean, I think we did very well. The layout, which I had, safety procedures, that's what I didn't have, and that was also a lot. So we did take the libraries and customize it, but it was quite a document, so it took some time to customize that. Preventive maintenance schedule, I didn't have that either. Now we do. And, well, last but not least, it was optional, but rental policies and procedures, which I did
Which we have.
so, anyway, those are all the documents that are in here, have to be in here, along with what I will complete, printing out all the narratives for each of the standards that I had to enter.
It sounds like it was torture, but if, God forbid, you don't get the accreditation, it's still a good exercise.
Oh, I can't
Absolutely great
imagine.
exercise.
I didn't even say that.
Constructive torture, it's like, you know what? I wish I could have enjoyed it more because I sort of probably like it, but it was just you know, the
Too
time.
much to.
Yeah,
Like,
the
It
volume
sounds like
of
the
data
format
was
was
made.
Yeah.
a real problem. The format, I mean, I know when
logistics
we were just
were
doing
tough.
stuff, it was nasty.
So then you feel like, wow, what am I spending, wasting my time on?
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm confident that we're meeting the mark. Like, I didn't end up, they're always asking for best practices, and I just couldn't make that leap, frankly, in each of those, like, do we have best practice? I don't know. But the welcome packet is a best practice now. I mean, that's something that, if someone heard we were doing that, they would say, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
It is,
So, I like that too.
yeah.
So I didn't include that, but they will visit, so I assume there'll be a virtual visit and a physical visit, and that
So
should
if
happen
they're
in the
gonna
next
be-
couple of months.
So there's still time if you wanted to pull together a best practices thing.
Yes, I just
You
think
could
we
even-
get it in here,
get in
if
the
people
binder,
talk about it,
yeah.
it's in addition to what we've already said,
Yeah.
I think it would be
So,
I mean, it sounds like you did a great job though.
newsletter get in anywhere? I mean, we just.
Oh, yeah, the news-
That's under marketing.
It is under marketing, yes, it is.
materials, yeah.
I knew it was in there, it is in there.
Yeah, all of that stuff, the flyers, the, you know.
Yeah.
One thing that isn't in there, because I didn't even know that it existed until I started getting involved in going on road trips with the senior center, is the binder that's on the reception desk that has all the road trips in it. That could have been another marketing piece.
That is
Oh,
true.
yeah.
I did
Which
make
is a-
copies of, I printed out constant contact messages that
Right.
we've done.
But that whole thing of having that on the reception
Yeah.
desk, maybe it's something that you want to
Yeah.
recreate to have for when they come, the show and tell. Because that's great, because,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't even know it existed.
Well, I didn't tell you.
Now, yeah, and so like, you know, just to go through and flip through and go, oh, wow, you know, like, they're going to York, Maine for a lobster
Yes.
bake and the doo-wop review,
Yes.
which Susan went to.
Was-
It was really fun. My first senior center road trip. It was an experience.
How many went?
There were, first of all, we were not the only bus.
Right.
Oh, okay.
There were like maybe 8, but it was, the room was, it was in a restaurant. But this is, I think this is all they do now. I mean, the restaurant was huge.
That's fun.
I don't know, there had to be 200 people, 200 seniors, lots of walkers, canes, people up
Did you do a
there.
dance?
So the people are,
No, I laid back, but there were people dancing, it was actually pretty, but the food was great, and, you know, all the kids that did the serving were great, they were very patient, because, you know, people, thought they were like in a restaurant, it's like, can you get me a glass of water? It's like these kids had like 400 people to wait on,
Really?
and they had all around stations for coffee, water, iced tea, and lemonade. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent,
Oh, no.
but it was a great experience, and I met some new people, and people that come to the senior center that I didn't.
This
know.
one?
Yeah.
Because it was combined on the bus with.
Oh, yeah,
Cohasset
so
and-
we had one bus, and on our bus was Cohasset, Scituate, Hull, and I think Norwell, but Hull had 19 people, they had the most people.
that's,
We had the second
that's
most.
half the bus.
Yeah, so the bus was
Yeah.
pretty much.
And
full.
Norwell ran the trip, or organized this particular trip, so they, each of the activities coordinators from the
They were all
floor,
there, yeah.
um,
Yeah, at the beginning, because we met at the Cohasset Senior Center, which does, by the way, it's a small senior center, and it does have an assistant
It's-
director. just
It
so
does have what?
She was there.
She was there?
Yeah, very nice.
What
So
did
I
you
missed,
say?
you said,
They have an assistant director, and
Oh.
their senior center is about this big.
8,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's just like one of my mantras, it's like,
Wow, so
yeah,
how do you make that equal?
we're trying.
Well, Cohasset's had its challenges with getting money, so it's just how it worked out. I'm not quite sure their whole staff, I should check into it,
They're
but,
like, how many staff they have, the parking lot, if you think this parking lot is small,
yet you won't park
we all did park there, God help.
there. I
all
parked
the-
there for the music circus.
Oh, you
Parked
did?
there.
I wanna walk
Well, I
over.
do.
Yeah, it's right beside the music circus, I blew right by it, switching my got there early.
Well, thanks for that,
Yeah,
that's,
no, it was fun, it really was fun.
Any other comments on, questions on accreditation?
Well, it sounds like you did a lot of work, but it sounds like it's a great end product and worthwhile.
Yeah, so we've been submitted and,
I guess what
Oh,
I
it's all
really
right.
hope is they're going to ask Duxbury or Marshfield to be our peer reviewer. That would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both accredited, I don't know, I think if they're having trouble finding it, you know, they should look close to home.
How does it go? Do they give you plenty of time before they come? Or is it a quick thing?
I don't know, don't
Or a
really know.
spot
I would have
check.
thought it would be quicker if they weren't so limited. And the only time I witnessed it, when I worked in Duxbury, and they had someone, she was from Connecticut, that came to Duxbury to review.
Remind me, is this a state accreditation or?
It's a national.
National.
So it's NCOA, but it's the National Institute of Senior Centers, and that's what's.
But do they tell you in advance, or do they just like do a pop quiz, show up?
I think they'll tell.
I think let's keep you notice.
Now, the woman that's been coordinating this for NISC or NCOA lives in New Hampshire. I mean, I know her. I have known her, and she technically retired from the full-time job at NCOA, and now she just does this. So, you know, could be her. So hopefully we'll get lucky.
I'm sure we'll make money.
Lucky or good? Good.
Right, hopefully we're good.
Right. Anybody have any questions on anything?
I have a humorous thing, but also maybe
Okay.
went to 50th College reunion at one of the events that I do go to, my friend went to, and they had their IVs to put on. And he said to her, "Do you have a pacemaker?" And she said, "What? Do you have a pacemaker?" I guess some people, the metal ones?
The metal.
If somebody has a
It
pacemaker.
might,
Maybe we should ask, Scotty.
depending on where you put it, maybe the metal might
Yeah.
affect the pacemaker, yeah, that's a possibility.
Oh,
The name tags?
Yeah,
But I think people with pacemakers know that.
they
Yeah.
do.
that's a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
Now, do all of you have the volunteer badge?
Yeah,
It's like, do we all have pacemakers?
I mean, it
No,
doesn't
I don't
matter
have
as
a
much
pacemaker.
that
Do you
you,
have a pacemaker?
well, I was just curious about the volunteer badges. Someone did make a comment that it would be nice if our volunteers wore their badges, and I think everybody does, but it just so happened maybe one time someone
Well, I
didn't,
noticed
and that
when I
happens to
did,
be,
yeah.
no, doesn't matter for the meetings, but if there's an event and you're there, I think it's nice if you wear them,
Yeah, I think we all.
unless you have a pacemaker.
Also, I noticed on the statistics, we're not signing in as volunteers, board members on the machine
I
downstairs.
do.
I do.
But
Oh, I do.
it-
I do.
Okay.
There's only two.
Well, I just didn't right now because I ran up the stairs to be here, but I'll.
No, but I
do it.
mean,
Oh, in her-
her statistics, it said two.
That's
For the
interesting,
month.
okay, for the
Oh,
month.
that could be possible.
But maybe it was for July where we didn't have a meeting. So
Yeah.
you're talking about
That's
Jess's
possible.
statistic.
Oh, yeah, that's probably it.
That might be it. Because everybody is being pretty good about that, I think.
It's also nice that you've added board meeting. You know, originally it didn't include that.
Oh, I should have, I mean, that was an oversight.
Oh, was that in there, board meeting?
Yeah.
Yes,
Anybody
we are.
else have any business issues? We want to enjoy the rest of August, that's for sure.
When's the next meeting?
September 14th. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Well, if no one has any other issues, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion for adjournment.
Second, Susan, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
So 6 of you